Dominic Anglade said goodbye 1 week. Marc Tanguay announced he was the interim leader of the Provincial Liberal Party the next week, and he is on the line right now. Monsieur Tanguay, thank you first of all for your time and congratulations.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me.
You have been a Liberal M&A for quite some time. I guess my first question, I want you to hear a couple from what we had our commentators weigh in on today. When did you decide to do this? Was this a conversation you had with members of the caucus? How did it come about?
We've been struck by surprise when we learned, like everyone, that Dominic Anglade left last Monday. So it happened very, very quickly. It wasn't a thinking that I was dealing with for a long period of time. It's Tuesday, the day after, and very quickly now it was the conversation with my colleagues at the caucus saying that, well, now we need to have an interim leader. And I raised my hand. I put my name in the hat, and my colleagues give me their vote of confidence. And I'm glad, even if it's not within the positive context. We lost our leader Dominic Anglade, but now we have to look forward, and we have to be prepared for the opening of the National Assembly, which will take place in 2 weeks now, November the 29th.
All right. Now, earlier in the show, we asked a couple of our commentators, James Meny, who's at the Gazette, and Tom Mulcair, who I know you know, what question they would ask you. I'd like you to hear the one that James Meny would like you to answer. Brian?
Sure.
I would ask him is how sure can you be, that, especially if you seek the leadership, that what happened to Dominic Anglade won't happen to you?
Okay. Mr. Tanguay?
Yeah. Listen, I have a very specific mandate that was given to me yesterday by the actual members of the caucus, my colleagues, and also on the other hand with a mandate provided to me with the executive of the Quebec Liberal Party. And for once, the first one is to make sure that our colleagues will be prepared. I don't know how long the interim will last. And the party will set the rules, and when the rules will implement for me to have my reflection as to will I run for the real, let's put it this way, the permanent leadership. Now I will have to make a decision to go or not. And if I decided to go, I will have to resign as interim leader. But again, I think that. As I'm speaking, I have the full confidence of my colleague within the caucus, and we will be ready for November 29th, and we will be ready for the winter session as well. And from June, we'll see 2023. We'll see what will be the Quebec Liberal Party rules. But we have a lot of work to do, and my job, as we speak, is not thinking about the permanent leadership race, but thinking about the upcoming session in Quebec.
Okay, so it sounds like you're going to try to take things one thing at a time, if you will, Monsieur Tanguay. However, Tom Mulcair did have a question about you staying on and perhaps eventually becoming leader. Here's that question.
I would ask him very simply, how is it possible for you to keep the door open for the full leadership, while you're accepting to be the interim leader? That gives you an undue advantage vis-a-vis the others. Don't you owe it to your caucus to clarify this as soon as possible?
Mr. Tanguay?
Yeah, it's a question. It's a very important question. First of all, I think that for me, I will not put myself in a conflict of interest, and that's very, very specific rules. The mandate that I have, it's not to use that position as a jumpstart to the permanent leadership and jumpstart entering a leadership race. We need to have an interim leader, very specific mandate. And my reflection, when I'm saying that I have not started my reflection yet, it's true. And you heard yesterday two of my colleagues saying that, well, I'm considering running for the leadership race, and they will be starting I assume that they will be starting organizing themselves, and things that the interim leader that I will not be able to do, and it's of course by nature something that I'm not allowed to do. So for me, there's no conflict. We have to do the job. I have to do the job. And the party's official already mentioned that they'll have, prior to the official beginning of the race, beginning of the calendar leading to the race. They'll have a substantial period of time before and when I'll have to decide. And if I decided to go, I will have to resign. Otherwise,
okay.
I will be ineligible.
So Dominique Anglade herself described the party as being torn, and there's been a lot of talk about the Liberal Party being in disarray and needing a total overhaul, a raison d'être, if you will. So how, even as interim leader, Mr. Tanguay, how can you fix the party? How can you unite the party, or at least begin to?
The leadership race will be an important period in order to enhance our party, enhance the organization, making sure that we have way more volunteers within the party. But we can, of course, we can start trying to make sure that the organization could be a little bit more efficient, try to add new members. We'll have meetings, a lot of meetings to make sure also that we will probably address the issue at the National Assembly, and it goes via the party as well. But you know, I'm thinking about the Quebec Liberal values, individual freedom, social justice, for instance, intergenerational equity.
Mm-hmm.
I think that those values are still the same. These are fundamentals for the Quebec Liberal Party, but now we have to make sure that we'll address these issues in every single topics that we will be dealing with in front of this CAQ government. So a lot of work to do. Not the leadership race will be a very, very important period to imagine the next general election. But in the meantime, we have a lot of work to do, and we can start reconnecting with the population and reconnecting with our party as well.
Just as we wrap up, I want to go back to two things you said. Number one, I believe you said at the beginning of the interview you were surprised by Dominique Anglade's announcement last Monday. A lot of people have been speculating for quite some time. Should she have stayed on, in your opinion?
No, it was. I was surprised. It was a shock in terms of even on a human base. We've worked so hard for the last years. She's been with the Quebec Liberal Party for the last 7 years, I think. So on a human perspective, it was a shock. And I was Dominique Anglade's leader. We were preparing the upcoming session for November 29th. So on the human side, it was a shock. And but again, these since the general election, since the bad results of October the 3rd, it wasn't easy. Of course, it was obviously difficult for everyone, and it was the Dominique Anglade's decision. But I'm glad to think that she gave a lot to Quebec's population, to the people living in her riding, and also she gave a lot to the Quebec Liberal Party, and I just wanted to thank her about that.
The last thing I will ask you before we let you go, so I want to make sure I understood this. What you're saying is, even as interim leader, when that full leadership run begins, you're not necessarily not going to apply for the job, but you're not necessarily also going to apply for the job. Is that right?
It's a perfect summary of my position. There's no closed door, open door. There's no door.
There's just a door, and it's not open or closed.
Absolutely.
Okay. Monsieur Tanguay, we wish you the best, and we thank you so much for your time.
Thanks to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Marc Tanguay, the new interim leader of the Provincial Liberal Party.
I was just thinking about how David Hertel described him as a bit of a pit bull in the National Assembly, and at the very least, we can expect him to hold François Legault accountable.
Well, there is that.
And maybe give him a bit of a hard time, and I'm down with that.
We shall see.